Prosecuting cases where the death penalty is on the table, it's a complicated process. And tonight, 2 News Oklahoma's Katie Kelleher giving us a closer look at what we could expect from this trial in the weeks ahead. Katie.
Case takes weeks. I spoke with one lawyer who says there are some key things jurors will be looking for to determine if the death penalty should be imposed. After 4 days of jury selection, about half of the pool of jurors is set. The jury selection expected to continue into next week. Attorney Tim Gilpin says during the lengthy process, attorneys try to get to know the jurors to determine their mindset.
That's why the process for jury selection in any case, but certainly in a death penalty criminal case, takes a long time because they're asking the jurors about their personal beliefs, their biases, their backgrounds.
Finding someone to sit on a jury for a death penalty case isn't easy. So far in the David Ware trial, 35 out of a pool of 100 jurors have been dismissed. Those remaining face some big questions.
Would they be willing, with the right evidence, to impose a death penalty or a life imprisonment penalty? Now, some folks just won't do that. They're just not built that way. Other folks have an open mind to it, and on the other end of the spectrum, there are folks who would be more than glad to do it under the circumstances.
Once the trial is underway, the first phase begins to determine if the defendant is guilty or not guilty. Gilpin says the jury will be looking for aggravation, malice, and intent.
In this case, what you're going to see is a lot of information about the actual act and why it happened, the intent or lack of intent.
Gilpin says that first phase could take several days to a week. If found guilty, then comes the second phase, the penalty phase. Even if it is a death penalty case, jurors could decide on a lesser sentence of life in prison, either with or without the possibility of parole. Gilpin says actually getting a death sentence doesn't happen often, and it leads back to intent.
It's relatively rare that it gets to that phase. Whether a jury can impose death penalty, whether you can convince a jury to do capital punishment, has a lot to do with the aggravating circumstances and if they think the defendant's intentions were malicious or what.
Gilpin says another thing jurors may consider in this case is Oklahoma's history of problems occurring during an execution. Katie Kelleher, 2 News Oklahoma.